Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Breathe Live. This is your host, Pastor Carter. My wife couldn't be here; she had to work. But I'm glad to have each and every last one of you here. We got a special guest. Her name is India, um, and we're going to be talking about being biracial, and we know what it's like to be African American and be systemic racism and different things of that nature. But I kind of want to get a glimpse from somebody that's biracial and understand that side of the story as well. And so that's why I invited India on the show. So with no further ado, we're going to get India in here. Hello,
Hi.
India.
Hi, how are you?
I am blessed. How are you?
I am also very blessed, and I have my doggy right next to me, so I'm really happy about that.
Okay, okay. Um, what I was telling the people and what we was talking about backstage, is just talking about colorism, different things of that nature, and
Yeah,
the challenges that you face, um, just being biracial. Because a lot of times people say it's a difference there or it's a different kind of beast, and so that's basically what we're going to talk about today.
yeah.
But I want you to describe yourself, what school you go to, who you are, to the audience at this point.
So my name is India Lawrence. I am biracial. My mom is white and my dad is black. I attend the University of Michigan as a junior studying microbiology with a minor in chemistry. I also have an award-winning project that I did revolving around the tau protein and Alzheimer's research last year.
Oh, okay, okay. And I just want to let everybody know that her mom is Denise from the group, the admin that we have, which we have a show with her coming up soon too, doing her group within the group. And we'll talk about that at another time. But this is her daughter. Are you the youngest, oldest?
I'm the youngest. I'm
You're the youngest.
23. Oh, I'll be 23 next month.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get to the questions, and hopefully we can get everybody to understand this issue. Have you experienced identity issues as a multiracial person of color?
Absolutely. I think one of the earliest memories I could have dealing with some of these identity issues is around age 11. I was too light for some of my black friends, so
Hmm.
my hair was considered weave, and like I was poked fun of because I was rather light skinned, and then I was too dark for my white friends. So um, I remember trying to bleach my skin by taking uh, lemon to it to just get rid of it. I just wanted to be a mono race. I didn't like at that rate being interracial. I didn't actually really accept my interracial identity until I reached about 18, when I realized to stop caring, and I realized that my color is beautiful and it's different, and I'm glad it's different. Also, at the same exact time, around the age of 13, and so my dad unfortunately passed. So
Hmm.
that was my African American side of my family, and I started to do more research in developing my African American heritage as well. And through that, over the next course of the 5 years, that's what helped me realize that my color is amazing, and it helped me realize that I am not just one or the other. I really am a mix, and that's what makes me stand out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very important. That just listen to what you were saying about how you used to take, you said lemon or something and try to lighten your
Yeah.
skin.
Yeah.
Um, that's an extreme measure. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
to go through.
It was just really hard. I was made fun of like crazy because I was one of the very few. So I'm on the lighter end for mixed people.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I am like a little bit lighter. So it's not easy to tell that I am half black, and it brings up a lot of issues, rather if I am black or if I'm from somewhere else. So there are times when I literally take the race of the person I stand next to. My Mexican friend who have from Mexico, she's amazing. I love her. But when you put us together, people think we're related. Same thing with my Arab friends. So I essentially
Wow.
take the race of whoever I stand next to. And so when I was like around 11, and I wanted to take limb into my skin. I just wanted to not be considered anything else. I got tired of people asking me where I was from, what are my parents like, and it was like it. And I lived in a town where it was still like it was starting to integrate
Hmm.
outside of Ypsilanti. And so there weren't a lot of really openly mixed people. If you were mixed, you were either black or white, but I didn't really define myself as black or white. I just always knew that I was mixed and my mom was white and my dad's black. It didn't become a problem until my friends or people started pointing it out.
And just to hear when you just said, I think one of the things that I've often wondered for myself was like, man, how do they? That's a hard thing, you know what I mean, for somebody to say, okay, you have a black father, you have a white mother, so you're just black. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's a struggle thing for me. I'm not in that situation, but I can only imagine the discord that can cause. Explain that a little bit to me.
I
The
see.
mindset that you have to have for that.
See, my mindset is that I love both my parents and I love both my
Hmm.
heritage. So when people are like, "Oh, you're mixed, so you're just black," and I'm like, "But no, I have my mom's side, and she's great, and I love my mom."
Hmm.
And but also at the same exact time, I love my dad, and I love my dad's side. And so it was really hurtful because it feels like I was denying a part of my heritage. Why would I want to deny either side? I'm not just one or the other. That's the reason why I am considered mixed. I am a mixed race person. I have both heritages and I am very proud of that. And it's really hard. And so when I think about that, I always define myself as interracial, biracial, or mixed because I feel like if I don't, I will be denying my parents and their sacrifices. They were in a time in the 90s where it wasn't still like it was known, but it wasn't really like acceptable. My
Hmm.
dad's side specifically hated my mother because she was white and all of this. So
Yeah.
I just I just don't feel like oh, sorry about the quotation marks. That wasn't necessary. I was gonna sorry about that.
Oh,
But
it's
the
okay.
point is
All right.
but the point is that like I look at it in terms like I am honoring my parents' sacrifices and I'm
Hmm.
honoring their love and their passion to each other and their commitment. And they were committed to raising me to understand both heritages. And so that's how I view it.
And I believe you spoke on this, but I'm just going to ask, maybe you can dwell on a little bit more about having an allegiance to one group of another. I know we just talked and you said you have respect for both, of course, needing to
Yeah,
have respect for both, being your mom is Caucasian and your dad being African American.
definitely.
But to do that again, kind of in a way, did that put you in a way that do people force you to try to choose between the two? Or do people just
Absolutely.
say, oh, you got a little bit of black blood, so you just black?
There have been times when people have asked me to like my white friends are like, well, you are like black, right? Like your dad's like black, and I'm like, but does that mean I'm gonna not be proud of my mom's heritage too?
Right,
And the
right.
same thing with my black friends. They're like, well, you're really light and you got a white mama, so why won't you like go more towards there? And I'm like, no, because my dad, that's still my daddy. That is
Right,
still my
exactly.
dad. And there is pressure from both sides, but I honestly, I just kind of ignore it now. Um,
Hmm.
not really ignore it, but just accept the fact that that's kind of something that just happens. It doesn't change my viewpoint of accepting and loving both sides of my family and both sides of me, more importantly.
Okay, okay. Has being mixed race, has it played a role in shaping how you view other races or racial issues like the climate that's going on now with the Black Lives Movement and different things of this nature, different things that's sprouting up as far as race is concerned? Um,
Oh, absolutely. So since I am lighter, depending on the type of year, I literally can take the race of whoever I stand next to. So that
mm,
literally means I can go literally live in someone else's shoes and experience their culture, which is great because I'm taking Spanish right now. And so if I like maybe adapt my language or something, it's much easier for me to pass. And but I've also experienced other races oppression at the same exact time. It's not only
mm,
just seeing the culture, but you're seeing not you're seeing a lifestyle and a pain that comes with being a particular or considered a particular group. And the Black Lives Matter movement, I was really big into because like, um, that's my family and those are my friends, but
Mm-hmm.
also the pigment of our skin color should not determine how we are being treated. That's what really got me mad, was that because my cousin is darker than me, does that mean that they deserve to be treated like crap? Absolutely not. That is
Right.
ludicrous. And so I I protested with the Black Lives Matter. I still protest with Black Lives Matter, because like, just because someone is lighter or darker does not mean that that determines their value, their worth, or how they deserve to be treated or anything like that. That drives me really crazy that we're in the 21st century and we're still dealing with the effects
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
colonialism.
Yeah. And I agree. And you know, I've had my issues with whether it be police, whether it be going into a store, just being African American, but um, just being a mixed person. Do that same thing occur? Um,
It
do
depends.
those same problems occur?
Depends.
Okay.
It depends. I've gone into recently over the summer, I went into Kroger's. The police officer was there. He was stopped a black family. They weren't
Hmm.
even doing anything. He was like, "Are y'all stealing? Y'all just messing with them?" And then he finally let them go. I walked past and he's like, "Hey, miss, do you need help finding anything? How are you doing today?" Complete opposite. And it drove me so crazy to think that literally the only difference was the pigment of our skin color. And so those are the kind of things that I see. And on the flip side, if I'm with my black friends, because I take on the risk of whoever I stand next to,
Hmm.
we can get in trouble just for like jaywalking or things like that. Like, why are we being stopped? We're not doing anything wrong. We're just getting ice cream more than likely, or getting bubble tea after an exam.
Right.
How are
Right.
we dangerous? So it kind of depends, on the situation. It varies from time to time. I usually don't personally have an issue with the police force.
Hmm.
Um, I usually I usually can just go about my business, but I cannot say that for all the time. And I don't really like that. It really hurts me, um, to watch how colorism originated, from colonialism, and like, the more wider the features you have, the if you're brown you can hang around, kind of thing. And so those things definitely do play a role in today's, society, whether it be consciously or subconsciously.
Hmm.
The fact that those are still things that still happen. When I worked at a senior living home, I cannot say the name for obvious reasons. It was a higher, wealthier class, and I was a wait staff. There were other servers were from synagogue, and they were
Hmm.
amazing. And the residents were Caucasian, and they would, refer to many of our darker servers as the help, servants, or
Hmm.
Misty, or given really like stereotypical names. But it was different. They preferred, lighter to be served by lighter people. So there were like a few lighter servers like myself and white. And when they would have big gatherings, the residents would request us, even though the other darker servers were actually much better. I personally, have dropped a few plates, and like, I'm very clumsy. I'm not the most coordinated people person in the entire world, to be completely honest. But the fact of the matter is that the lighter skin and whiter people were requested over the darker skin. And so that's the thing of like, of historically speaking, that mixed people were mostly house slaves, or it's an unfortunate reality, and unfortunately that mindset still plays a role.
Yeah, that's deep because that was the next question that I had for you. Have you experienced interracial colorism?
Yeah, and it hurts. And not just beyond that experience, I can even tell you a few more. Another one is I also worked for another senior living home. And one of the residents simply referred to me as girl instead of my actual name, even though she had known my name, and
Mhm.
referred to another coworker who was darker than me, is Misty, and referred to her as I don't even want to say some of the derogatory things that were stated. Um, so in again, there was like a preference. We're lighter. Even on my dad's side of the family, which this really kind of hits home because my mom is white. It wasn't really a really popular thing for my dad to marry a white girl.
Mhm.
So as a pet name that I was given by one of my aunts was the little foreign because I was mixed.
Mhm.
And the family photographs, you can clearly see that there are lighter people on my dad's side, actually lighter than me, but
Mhm.
they kind of stick out, and it's rarely well known, and we're almost like put on like in family pictures. We're honestly put more towards the side, and so
Mhm.
like it's it's kind of messed up. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say what it is. It just really and like it's really sad that when I do go out with my black friends that they're trying to get some of like my hair texture or things like that, and it's just like your hair is, in my opinion, your hair is beautiful. You're like a goddess. Don't
Mhm.
don't like don't change it because society says that my hair texture is pretty. No, in my opinion, I think they look like a goddess, but they spend time trying to get similar textures to my hair and things like that. And that's because beauty standards are in fact are impacted by Eurocentric features, and the fact is that colorism still very much does play a role in society.
I think, just growing up and hearing a lot of different things, I've dated biracial women. I have biracial friends. I mean, I believe this day and age, everybody
Yeah,
has,
I know.
biracial people in their family. And I think this really brought it out as far as when we was talking about doing the show. And I was like, I need to get a different perspective on their side, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't just assume all the time, oh well, we just gonna pull you in with us all the time, like you don't have identity of your own. And I never thought of it that way, if that makes sense. You say little things all the time, and you never really think
Yeah.
about it. Like because I used to say that, like, oh well, you have black, okay, well you black. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I used to say stuff like that. So that's why it's so weird. And that's why I wanted to have somebody on to kind of explain how they feel about when people do say things of that nature, and how damaging, um,
It really is quite damaging.
yeah, how damaging that can be. And that within itself is a racial remark. Um, so if you can expound on that a little bit more, and how you would explain why that's hurtful, why,
It
coming from, especially coming from African American or white people, regardless, you
it's
know.
hurt. Yeah. It's hurtful because it's trying to place me into one category,
Hmm.
and it's saying that, oh, your other side doesn't have very much value. My mom's side, I ended up taking a DNA test to kind of see what my heritage out comes
Hmm.
out, and I'm actually very, very Irish to the point where we actually did some more digging where my mother and I qualify for Irish citizenship, which is really cool.
Oh, it's
That's really
cool.
cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So, like, why wouldn't I be proud of this? But you're trying to
Right.
put me into one category, and the fact of the matter is that I'm not in one category. The simple
Exactly.
fact is that by my parents come from different, not different from different races, but different upbringings, different lifestyles, and I'm proud of that. So please, when you're with your interracial friends, like, don't try to place them into one category because we spent our whole lives trying to get our category known, that we're not just one. That box on the sign on your any employment applications or things, that means a lot. because that means that I don't have to decide which parent I'm going to choose to deny or which side I'm going to choose to deny. Am I going to have to deny half of myself?
Right.
Those boxes things mean a lot. So please don't do that. That's hurtful because that's saying that my other side has no value. And by retrospect, that means I don't have any value, because if that side doesn't have value, then that my whole self doesn't have value. We're kind of a package deal, both sides. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to split that up. That's
No, you can't have one without the other. No, what am I going to do? Make a half copy of myself? I can't do that. We haven't learned.
Right. Yeah, I also look at it as like for me, for instance, I mean, I have two Black parents, but I mean, it's obvious that I'm mixed with other things than African, but me being a lighter shade or whatever. But I think, how can I put it? I believe a lot of us are mixed. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like it's very few Africans. Well, it is Africans over here, but it's very few Africans that's like full-fledged African. You know what I mean? Like, this is where I come from. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm from the States. I'm from the United States. I don't know anything about Africa. I don't claim to know anything about Africa. I do plan on visiting, but you know what I mean? That's not a place that I'm like, oh, I'm just happy I need to go and move there. You know what I mean? So I think we do have to start acknowledging to each other that, okay, we may be African American, or people may call me African American, but I'm just American. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how I look at it. So this is why it was very important to get you on, and somebody that's multiracial, to kind of explain to people what's hurtful, what's things that people say to you that maybe we shouldn't say to our biracial friends. You know what I mean? Things of this nature. And it just gives an education to people like myself on what to do, what to say and what not to say.
From a scientific standpoint, African Americans, majority of African Americans, like you said, are not just plain African. More than likely, there is a mixture. A lot of African Americans, you can look this up even on our national census and things. You'll find that most African Americans do have a mixture with Native Americans and some form of Indo-European mixes. That's what happened with a lot of quite a few of my mixed friends that are also half Black and half white. We found that there were traces of Indo-European history on our Black sides as well, as opposed to our white sides too. So like the Irish, there's my last name is Lawrence, and that is definitely an English last name. I traced it back to Northern England, which is really cool. And we were able to do some more tracing back to, I think it was Texas, where I think it was where our family's plantation originally was. There are a few, again, a lot of the records are kind of hard to find. So there is a possibility that there was definitely some mixing on my dad's side more recently, as far back as my great grandmother, who was, historically speaking, was indeed a house slave, and that we do have records of that. And she was also notoriously light-skinned like myself. So we possibly think that there was some mixing as recently as 150 years ago. So just three generations, and it's with mine, it came up. I ended up being more Caucasian of Caucasian descent than I did of African American descent. Looking at some of my other family members, they also saw those numbers slightly higher. I think the highest African descent my house, my family members on my dad's side has about a little over 70%, but there are some that were like me that were as little as 35 to 40%. And we believe that because of our great grandmother having been mixed, that we might have had some more Indo-European.
So what can we do as far as or not do? Well, to do, I put it this way: what can we do to make it that we educate people as far as what to say, the right things to say and what not to say to multiracial?
Multiracial, please do not ask me what country I am from. That is one of the biggest questions that I get. is like, oh, are you from the US? I'm like, I was born in Ypsilanti, bro. I'm from the US. Do not ask me, what are you? Do not bluntly come up to me and like, what are you? I'm like, well, I'm me. I'm
You have people that ask
American.
you, "What are you?"
I've had people straight up people literally ask me, what are you?
Wow.
There have been instances where people have even tried to guess. But since my name is India, they're like, oh, are you Indian? I'm like, no.
Wow.
No. So it's like, it's, yeah, I know it sounds really funny, but it's really, it
That is
has happened
crazy.
on several occasions where people have attempted to guess my ethnicity, which ethnicity is, mine is, I'm mixed. Well, like, what do you expect, bro? I
Right,
don't know what else to
right.
tell you. So yeah, please don't ask me where I'm from. Please don't ask me what am I. Please don't attempt to guess. More than likely, if you come up to me and say, if you politely ask me like, "Hey, what's your ethnic background?" Like something like that, politely ask instead of rudely going up and asking, "What are you? Where are you from?" More than likely, it's much politer, and I would happily tell you that I'm biracial. I'm proud of it. Most mixed people, most of the mixed friends that I know and have, we're very proud of our mixes. So we
Mhm.
like when people like actually politely ask us, what are we, like, where, like, what's our background? But if you're rudely stating like, what are you, trying to pinpoint us into one group or the other, it's very disrespectful. And no, majority of us are not from a different country. I think that's by far one of the rudest things I've ever gotten. Where I've literally had to, where people literally guess where I'm from. And at one
Mhm.
point, I even turned it into a joke. I'm like, how many of you guys can guess where I'm from? And it was really sad, but many of them did guess different countries. And I'm like, I was born right here. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have people that ask me, and I'd be like, "Where you from?" I'd be
yeah,
like,
from the,
"Detroit."
yeah,
Like,
yeah, please, yeah. But
be like,
please,
"I am
if
from
you're gonna,
Detroit."
ask about our ethnic background, do it politely. Don't just assume anything. A
Mhm.
lot of mixed people, there are no real true assumptions. It's pretty hard to just help.
I think, and like I said, I think we are this, not the country, but people itself is getting so mixed.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really hard to say, "Oh, I'm just white," or
Yeah,
I'm just black. It's or I'm just Asian, whatever the case is. It's so much mixture going on. Yeah, I believe it puts people in a bind because it's like, okay, let's use Tiger Woods for example, right? You know what I
yeah,
mean? It kind of threw him in a bind. It was like, oh, he's the first African American, golfer or whatever. And so when they asked him, he said something, I can't even repeat it, but he mixed it and he was
hmm,
trying to include his mom and
uh,
dad's
yeah,
um
yeah.
background. And I thought that was by right. He should have had the right to
Oh,
do that.
absolutely.
But I also saw the backlash from doing that. Oh,
Yeah,
he just don't want to be a part of the black community. And it's like he's half black. Like he don't have a choice
yeah.
but to be a part of the black community. So it's I don't know. I was confused by that
That backlash,
outcry after Tiger Woods.
that backlash is more common than you think. I've experienced that backlash quite a bit. That there, because like I'm in STEM, so like there aren't a lot of people of color in general, and
Okay.
so ideally they would like to poster board me as just plain black or just plain whatever they decide that many people still don't know.
Hmm.
But however, I still identify as biracial, and so there is like a backlash about that. They're like, you're not proud, you're not a true black person. And I'm like, why? Just because I'm, lighter skin
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm not black. No, I am black because I have, my dad is black and that's
Hmm.
part of who I am. That's a part of my identity. But however, I'm not going to, but there is backlash against, and and it's more common than you think. And
That's
it's really
sad.
gets really sad.
Yeah.
It is.
Sad.
And
I
also,
just oh go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
so what I've been really liking about recently is that there's been a lot of more mixed, and I know that there is. there's suspected to be even more mixed people coming
Oh
about,
yeah.
and I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of see what people, how they really respond, because there's going to be a lot more of me, trust me. And
Oh yeah.
I,
Oh
even
yeah.
even if
Oh
like
yeah.
in my personal dating, I don't tend to prefer one particular race over the other. So I've literally had quite a mix, that such as myself. So I've dated Asians and also um, actual people from India, and like other, and also other mixed people as myself that come from like Greek and other
Mhm.
backgrounds as well. And so I mean, I don't suspect that if I ever, do decide to settle down, I think more than likely my kid will probably be very mixed, just like me.
Man,
And
you be
so,
on it. That was my next question for you too.
yeah, really? Yeah,
It
really?
was. Look, this was the next question. If you are single, divorced, or widowed, what racial groups do you date? Any particular reason why? That's why I said when you went into it, I was like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, I don't particularly pick any kind of race,
Hmm.
because I more like look at the individual. And so if that
Hmm.
individual so happens to be of a different race than me, then great. I mean, also if you happen to be mixed black and white like I am, that's also great. It's not the first thing that comes into play. I mostly look at character. So if we click, um, then we click. But as a history of dating, I tend to dated other mixed people and other um, different races from my own heritage. So more likely, I will probably end up having a very very mixed kid, and they can probably explain that their mom and dad is this and that, and I think it would be funny because I think it would be really comical because like, well, my mom's mixed black and white. She has enough Irish to be an Irish, almost like an Irish citizen, which is really funny. And then I mean, I think it's the, and especially with more people coming out and more mixed people, I think it would be really
Mhm.
comical. Hopefully it'll be more widely accepted, but
Yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to get one of them kits and find out. No telling.
it's really cool. It's really interesting. I found out that I have family in like Barcelona, and like I still have family in Scotland and other
Okay.
parts, and
Okay.
also people and family members in Singapore and India, and actually Georgia in the Middle East. So there's a that lets you know kind of how diverse my DNA ended up going. I literally hit almost every continent except for Australia.
Oh
That's how
wow.
diverse. That's how diverse my heritage is, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it is
I
cool.
I, I want I want to see like maybe one day, maybe down the future that the one of my descendants will have hit every single continent. So I maybe like hoping maybe one day,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe
And even even getting to a day that people date who they want, right?
yeah,
Who they, I dated and fell in love with my wife, and she's African American, but it shouldn't matter what
no,
color, because I've dated from Asian to white. It
yeah,
never mattered. You know what I mean? It never mattered to me.
yeah.
But I guess for some people it do bother them. But to me, you connect, like you said, if you connect, you connect. That's just,
It's
you
just how it
know,
is, and that's
yeah,
exactly how I do
yeah,
it. And
yeah.
especially since I am mixed, I am definitely more like I feel like I'm more open to like different cultures, like in general, because I think it's really cool that I have both of these sides. I like experiencing new cultures and things in general, so I would be a bit more open to it. And I think it's, I mean, I think being mixed is cool. It has its struggles, but doesn't like I doesn't every other race does.
Yeah, I think every race pretty much has its troubles. I just really wanted to get across this one to our viewers because I think it's
Oh
something
yeah.
that's overlooked. I started to
Definitely.
have, it was a couple more people I was going to put on, but I didn't want too many people because you get a whole lot of people that get
Yeah.
lost. Um,
Yeah, totally.
so
I think
go
I
ahead,
think
go
it
ahead.
even gets even I think it even gets even weirder in how it how it plays out at the university level.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it gets really a bit confusing when as I'm meeting new people,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and and unfortunately, race does come into question more often than you think, um, and it's really sad to be one of the few colored people in some of your classes. Even at University of Michigan, as diverse as can be, there's still a significant portion of in STEM, not to be offensive or anything, but especially in STEM, particularly in mathematics, there's a large Asian population in comparison to African Americans. And so I still stand out in STEM. And then I stand out even more so because I can't be placed into a mono race. And
Wow.
so it kind of, you're just like, I'm the definition of the oddball. Where are you? What are you doing in this field? And I'm like, I like I like studying. I like the biochemistry. I like microbiology. This stuff is cool. I like blowing stuff up and trying to figure out how it happened.
The
And
most
it just so
powerful people.
happened.
I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the most powerful people are odd, right? If we look
Yeah.
through if you look through history, everybody that was odd um
Hmm.
left something great, whether it
Yeah.
be a painting or whether it be, whatever it is, these are the oddballs of our society, but
Yeah.
they're really the geniuses, the orchestrators, the visionaries, if you will. So
Yeah.
I believe it's a lot that you're young, you're in school now. There's a lot that you
Yeah.
can not just to this issue, but contribute to the world. Period.
Hmm.
Um, so that oddball, just remember, most
Yeah. It's totally
people
worth it.
are oddballs.
It's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. I honestly, I honestly believe it's totally worth it, and
Yeah.
I I think it's fun. I mean, I also like to color code my notes, so that's also kind of fun. So you know, it just seems like it kind of like works.
Yeah.
You got this. You're starting to see a little bit of the science part in me. You're
Okay.
starting to see it. It gets worse. I will start, and if I go on to a subject about bacteria and things like that, please stop me. I I have a lot. I love that stuff. So it's so cool.
I said your mom just liked the video.
Aw.
Um, all right. So before we head out though, I
Yeah.
really want you. We talked about the questions and different things of this nature. Anything that I didn't know enough to ask you, whether it be I don't know a whole lot about being multiracial or anything of that nature. If it's any questions that I didn't ask that you want to get out to the people on tonight, whether
Yeah.
on what you feel they should do, shouldn't do, whatever, the floor is yours and to speak.
I feel, yeah, I feel like there are the thing to know about being specifically black and white interracial is that, or any biracial, is that there has always been uh, like hostility towards that mix. And that's a
Mhm,
hostility that we were born to. It wasn't something that we selected, it wasn't something that we chose. It was just something we were born into because our parents decided, or hopefully decided, to stick out and follow their hearts instead of looking at the racial. When we're
mhm,
born, we're born with carrying that responsibility. And I think that's something I think people should really know, that it becomes a part of, it is a part of who we are because we're a product of their love and their commitment. But it's also, I figure that it's also my responsibility to speak out and to tell more about being biracial because I'm continuing the legacy of my parents. I'm continuing the hardships and the work that they put in. It's not easy being an interracial couple. It's really not. But they did it. And I'm the product of that. And I'm so proud of that. And most mixed people feel the exact same way. that it's our responsibility to bring light to some of these issues and to let people know that we're proud, and that really the definition of, true cultural acceptance and things like that comes from two people who are in love and that don't define those boundaries as by race. Race is not a boundary, and we're a product of that super powerful commitment, and that's something that I'm so proud of. And also with other like things about being mixed, unfortunately with being I also acknowledge colorism. I do not stand by and passively allow it to happen. I openly stand up because I want to break that cycle. We've been dealing with this too long. We're talking over 200 years long. Wow. Since colonialism started. So I do speak up against colorism. I do not like it. And if I see it, I will say something. And if you discriminate against one of my friends that are darker or even lighter than me, because it has happened on both ends, then I'm going to say, then you're discriminating against me. And I do not hold back. I will not allow injustice to happen right before my face. Not if the pigment of our skin color is that reason why.
Right.
And so that's what I also really wanted y'all to learn, to know about me.
Okay. Again, thank you so much, India, for coming on and explaining and helping people to understand it, even helping me to understand it a little bit more since you're living it, right? And I just most definitely appreciate it. I want you to hang out backstage. I'll close the show.
Yeah.
And then I come back to you, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Now that was India. Now, one of the things that she said that stuck out to me, she said that her mom and her dad being opposite races, that she was proud of that. And that's something we should all be proud of. Seeing mixed couples in this country. I believe that's the true definition of freedom. That's the true definition of, I believe, how God wanted us to be, and not be so much on color or you mix with this person, or you're African, you white. None of that matters at the end of the day. You love who you love, you marry who you marry, and the product that you have is God-given. It's not a mistake. It's not intentional. It is intentional. So that young lady got a lot of great things. I believe God is going to use her tremendously in the work that she's doing in college and different things of that nature. Because God uses eyeballs. God uses any and everybody that's willing to be a vessel. So just closing out, thank each and every last one of you for joining today. If you didn't catch the whole thing, please just go back and watch the show. Much love to everybody. God loves you and I love you. And that's